I guess what I want to talk about next a little bit is this is going to be such a big moment, right? Because I am leaving Iowa tomorrow, right? It's going to be a big moment. It's going to be a mark of a shift in the campaign for me and the journey that I'm going through with this campaign. And it's a lot of commitment, right? It's a lot of investment. It's a lot of things I'm giving up to do this, and a lot of it's not just me. It's a lot of Yang that are doing this. That's what makes it so amazing. That's what makes me want to do it so much, because there's just so many other people out there that we can join and do it together and make it more powerful, right? So there's so many of us making this effort. What are Yang's legit chances, right? Like, what are like, okay, well, like, when people ask me, can Yang win? Can Yang win? Yeah, of course he can. Of course he can win. I think he's going to win. I see the path to victory. I see it clearly. It seems like the campaign sees the path to victory. We are on that way, right? But what realistically is how he wins? How does he get there? And what are going to be some of the biggest obstacles? I guess that is something I get often from people, and it's a hard question to answer for me because there's not that much we know. I guess to start off, I mean, the big thing right now, it's hard to talk about it right now because we don't freaking know any of the polling, right? We don't even know where he is right now. He could be hitting 12 to 13%, and we're out here based on polls that are at 3%. Like, what is that supposed to do for us? So, step one, we need to get polls so we actually know where he's at right now, because this is a very crucial moment, right? At the same time, I feel like over the last 4 to 5 months of the campaign, we have grown amazingly. We're growing. We're growing in Yang Gang members, but the Yang Gang members I'm in contact with are still the hardcore ones, right? Like the hardest ones. Out of that group, we still have not shifted to a position where the mainstream and everybody else in this country is aware of us and can still hop on and join Yang Gang and vote for us in the caucuses. So if we ran right now, I think we would do somewhat well in Iowa because of how much money we spent there. We come in 4th or 5th place in the caucuses, but our success comes when we introduce ourselves to everybody else. And I talked about this in my last video. We're talking about fundraising, but you look at Bernie Sanders, you look at Elizabeth Warren, right? Versus somebody who's like an Andrew Yang, right? Who, like, what's the difference? If you go around this country and ask everybody knows who Bernie Sanders is. They think either he's half the country hates him, half the country thinks he's a socialist, or the other half thinks that, you know, they're an establishment Democrat, they don't like Bernie, or they're progressive and they love Bernie, right? It's this kind of split. Bernie's now going to take this $34 million or whatever he raised, right? The millions of dollars, and he's going to spend that in trying to persuade people to come out and caucus for him, trying to inspire them to come out and caucus for him, or he's going to try to persuade the voters of other people to come out and join him. And what I know from working on campaigns, and like what I haven't really worked on campaigns, but what I know from reading things by people who work on campaigns is when you're going out, right, and you're like, imagine when you caucus for Yang, you get your information. You know who the likely Democratic voters are. You know who those are. Bernie Sanders is spending the money and getting people to knock on those doors and persuading people to not support their candidate, but to support Bernie Sanders. That's great. Like, if we were in that position right now, I think we could do a good job, because we do a good job debating on the behalf of Yang. But I'm saying that a lot of people already have entrenched views and ideas towards Bernie Sanders. You can't shift too many of them. If you like Bernie Sanders, you like Bernie Sanders. If you don't like Bernie Sanders so far, like, really, like, what is it that hasn't gotten you yet, right? So there's like, you would have made your decision already whether to join them or not. So given that their money is going towards this minute population that they can influence by trying to get them to come out and support Bernie Sanders, they need to either convince them to go out and caucus not for their candidate but for Bernie, or they need to have them support them just in the Super Tuesday states. And I think that's where a lot of their money is going. But here's the fun part, man. Like, Bernie Sanders, probably the best position right now in terms of the money he has and where he can go with that. Yang, when it comes to his chances of winning and his path to victory, he is in such a better route, because he needs to be the most viral, the most loud, the most talked about candidate as we continue on, because he wins when he introduces himself and people understand where is he coming from, why does he want to do UBI, what will UBI mean, and then they have their criticisms of UBI and democracy dollars all answered. And when people fully understand that concept, they tend to become Yang Gang. But right now, too many people do not know who Andrew Yang is, what he's fighting for, but a lot of people, everybody knows who Bernie Sanders is and what he's fighting for. That is a huge disadvantage, but it's an disadvantage that can be overcome with money, advertisement, mail lab outlets, offices, introducing people, yanging people, the support group being enthusiastic, our online messaging, our online growth, and we are doing great at that. That is something that we're doing great at. So that's good news for us. But that all that money that we raise is we're playing a very different game from Bernie Sanders. Our money is going straight to introductions, not to persuasion. Bernie Sanders has to spend the money on persuading people, hey, don't support Elizabeth Warren, hey, don't support Joe Biden, come join me. But Andrew Yang's like, hey, I know all these other candidates are trying to fight for you. I know that they're all proposing these various solutions, right? I am Andrew Yang. Here's my message. that is where our dollars are going. And it is such a more effective route because it takes less dollars to introduce ourselves. And it only takes us, and we have such a passionate support group, man. We can push them till the end. We can push them to the point where people have to, like, literally are forced to say, I would rather support this candidate than Andrew Yang. Right now, people aren't even considering Andrew because they don't know who he is. We need to reach the point where people seriously have to say, okay, I'm choosing somebody else over him. And I think at that point, too many people will like Andrew Yang, and too many people, when they reach that point, will have to look into his ideas and realize, okay, this is why UBI is such a great idea. This is why Andrew, when he looks at solutions and looks at problems, he's going to approach it in a way that's very different from all the other candidates, right? That's what I think. And that is why I'm so confident in our growth and our chances to win. I think it's a great chance to win because we're playing such a better game. Bernie Sanders found so much success in the very beginning, right? In 2016, he found so much momentum, and that's what led him to the top. But partially because he all he had to do was introduce his ideas to people, and they sounded a lot better than what Hillary Clinton was saying. People jumped on, and that momentum propelled him to be a serious frontrunner, and was the one that should have won if it wasn't for the DNC stepping in and completely shafting him, right? Like, that was the issue. We're in the same position of Bernie where we can have the same momentum he has. I think on a greater scale. I think on a bigger scale because we're more organized. A lot of us have the experience of 2016 working for Bernie. I think this momentum is going to continue and happen again in the same way it happened for Bernie, and all that money is only going to help and be the catalyst for that. So we're just going to have to, like, really take advantage of the momentum we're going to gain. We have to look back at Bernie's success and see, okay, this is the type of wave we need to ride. We need to expand on it, learn from our mistakes, and I think that's how we really win. I think that's how we find our growth. I mean, I know I say that's how we win all the time, but I'm seriously, that is seriously how we win. We create that momentum, and people realize how real Andrew Yang presidency could be. Right? People slowly realize a Bernie Sanders presidency could be great, and they loved it, and a lot of people wanted to join. He is less universal and less appealing than Andrew, in my opinion, but it was the DNC who ended up choosing against Bernie Sanders and chose for Hillary Clinton. It's a little different now. It's a little harder to rig the entire system against a candidate now than it was in 2016, and I think the growth that we're exhibiting and the type of the growth we're experiencing for the campaign is just so much like Sanders, but on a bigger scale. So that's why that's why when people ask me, can Andrew Yang win, I say I think he's the best shot to win. I think he does. There's so many candidates fighting right now. There's like these top 4 candidates fighting, not really having the shot to grow that much more. Like, a Joe Biden can't grow that much bigger. Amy Klobuchar cannot grow that much bigger. I don't know why I threw her in there. Pete Buttigieg, I can't picture him getting to like 50% or even 40% for that matter, right? I can't picture any of these candidates finding that real growth unless we see, like, if anything, if Elizabeth Warren drops out right now, we should be afraid that Bernie will skyrocket, right? But I don't think she's going to drop out right now. I'm so confident in Yang winning because all the other candidates are fighting among this population that will not really change, and then Yang's only introducing himself and seeing so much growth. We saw so much growth in fundraising. We see so much growth in Twitter followers, all that stuff. And Yang talks about how we don't need that big of the population. We don't need that many people to caucus for us, and that is going to be so true. It's going to be so split at the top tier that Yang's going to find it very much easier to take everybody else and get the other bases like the unregistered voters and the disenfranchised voters to come out and support him. I think in the caucus system, that's where our strengths are. Our strengths are not measured right now. Like, what's not measured are the support of independents too hardly. What's not measured is what's going to happen in terms of enthusiasm when it comes to caucus night, when it's snowing, and Elizabeth Warren's hoping that her supporters have the balls and have the want and the desire to go out there and canvass for her. I mean, not canvass for her. I mean, caucus for her. Andrew Yang doesn't have to worry about that. He knows Yang Gang's going out and we're going to caucus for him, right? Like, that's our strength. We are all set up to succeed at the very end, but we need to continue hitting these goals, like making the debates or hitting the donation goals. We need to continue empowering the campaign to last, survive, grow, and then we reach the final stages. And I think really, I think that's where we really find our success. That's when we really win, because it is a game of persuasion. It's a game that really benefits the ones with the most enthusiasm. So we have to maintain that enthusiasm. We have to grow that enthusiasm. We have to use that enthusiasm for good things. Come out to January with me. Come out to Iowa. Come out and join me. That's the type of things that we can really apply that and really find our stride and win, baby. Yang Gang. Okay. Wow. I'm sorry. I feel like sometimes I talk on a tangent for way too long, and that was one of those situations where I felt like I should have probably stopped talking like 10 to 15 minutes ago. But it's hard with a podcast. I enjoy talking in this matter. It makes it a little bit more like allows me to flush out my thoughts more. And I think it makes me smarter when I talk about it in a shorter form, like in a video. If I'm able to talk about it here first and really say everything I want to say, maybe my opinion shift a little bit. I don't know. But yeah. Whew. Okay. Next topic. Not next topic. It's more like just this is why I need a guest too, because when I'm talking the entire time, it gets a little like you don't realize how much energy it takes until you're done talking, and then you're chilling and you're like, oh wow, it's kind of like that. But yeah. You know, I cannot wait to Iowa because I'm really excited to pack all my podcast equipment, bring it with me, and then set it up in the hotel, and then try to get like a consistent guest. I would like to have somebody like Tom the Connector consistently do it with me. He's a really, really interesting person to talk to. We get along really well from, everything that I know. What matters most in a podcast co-host is that you get along. There's a good relationship there. There's a good dialogue. And I think I have that with Tom, so it'd be cool to have him on. But also at the same time, a lot of Yang Gang provide very unique perspectives, and I'd like to share that, right? So we could try everybody. We could try as many people as we want. We could, you know what? It's BYOM, burn your own mic. That's the only rule because I only got 2. I was also thinking about like in terms of me going down to Iowa and Aya, do you want to be a guest on the podcast? Please. So I think besides going, God, so sad. I don't understand. I don't understand. I asked her to come on the podcast. She says no. Just seems to have this arrogance around her. That's my sister. She, I think it's the love of Andrew Yang in this household is so strong. So I'm about to talk about some of the surprises that I expect to come up in a little bit, like for the Yang campaign. But real quick, I want to add this. I don't know if this is common with any other Yang families out there. Any other family that's like all Yang Gang, like your parents are Yang Gang, you're Yang Gang, obviously. What I'd like to say is I don't know if this is the case with all of y'all, but my parents are so Yang Gang, I am so Yang Gang, that my sister is so fed up with Yang being talked about in the house that she now is so anti-Yang Gang, it is unbearable. She really does not like Andrew Yang. So I would like to get her opinion up on this podcast and have her say like what her issues are with him real quick. And then I'll go into what the surprises are. But I don't know, maybe you guys will enjoy this. Can you come here for just 1 second? Let me just show you this real quick. Just check out this setup I have here. You don't have to do anything else. Just come on and check this setup out. Please. Wait, come on. Check it out. Listen to this. Try these on. She's coming, guys. What? Can people hear me? People cannot hear you. We're not live. Okay. Try these on. But this is recorded. But you can talk in here.
Hi.
You want to say hi to camera?
That's kind of weird. Oh, I didn't realize I was in there.
You can say hi. Wait, say hi to this. You can talk into the mic one more time?
Okay.
So can I ask you a quick question?
No.
Wait, real quick. Why do you hate Yang so much? Why do you always talk so negatively about him?
I don't. You guys are just really annoying about it.
What do you mean? Do we just talk about Yang all the time?
Dude, no sane person frames a t-shirt.
Oh, me framing my Yang t-shirt?
Yes.
Wait. Why do you really not like him? Is it purely because we talk about him all the time?
No, I don't dislike him.
Oh, you don't?
I think he's a smart man.
But why don't you ever like to join our Yang discussions? Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. That was the first time you said something really complimentary about Yang. But overall, it's always been, you guys, that's all you talk about. And whenever, like, we start talking about him in the car, she takes her earbuds and goes, oh, my God, not Yang again, and just plugs them in. That's, Aya, you don't understand the vision. You don't understand the future. It's forward, baby. It's forward. Okay, talking about surprises that I think are going to come down the campaign. So, this is Hail Mary time, baby, for the campaign. The campaign knows that. The campaign knows most critical moments. This is when Americans are starting to tune in. Americans are starting to care because they realize this nominee is going to be the one that beats Trump, the one that has to face him, right? So Andrew times his endorsements in a way that they can be used strategically. So I think in the way that people say that Yang has this 2019, 21st century, high depth, really futuristic campaign is that he thinks very different from everybody else. Kamala Harris gets those endorsements, drops them right away. Andrew Yang's like, hold on, let's wait. Look, December's going to be a big moment for us. The polling thresholds are probably the highest, or they'll be like, hey, this is when Americans are tuning in the most. This is when we need the coverage. Let's let everybody know of this huge, ginormous news at this moment. That's what he's been doing so far. Same thing with Donald Glover moment. I talked about this on the podcast. Donald Glover, some people were aware of the collab happening way before the event ever happened. They knew about it back in like October, right? So Yang has has been aware of these endorsements for a while. They just strategically release them so the media gets a ton of attention around. It is perfect. It is awesome. I think it's what makes us so unique is that we plan ahead and plan for these big moments to happen when we need it the most, when we need those polling thresholds, when we need the most media attention. That's why we did this now. That's why I don't think Yang and Elon have done anything publicly yet. I think it will happen 100%. I hope it happens. We need it to happen. The question is when it's going to happen, and that's when Yang feels it's most important that it happens. So it's very clear to me that we have not reached the crux, or the climax of the election cycle yet, or the climax of the primary cycle yet, because we know that he hasn't brought out the big guns yet. He hasn't brought out the heavy hitters. He hasn't brought out the Elon Musk, Jack Dorsey. He needs to bring more of those people out, and he will. But I think he's going to do it at a time when it's like, fuck, we need help here. We need help, man. We need to show people we're serious. We got real people. Elon Musk endorsed Andrew. That is awesome. But they still have met. They've done things together. I want to see that footage. I want to see what it is that they did together. I think we are going to get that. But we're going to get that at the moment that the campaign does we need it the most. I trust the campaign. My heart, I got a lot of experience with the campaign. I trust them more than anything. I trust what they're doing, the way they plan for these big events. They do it perfectly. I have full faith in them. But it's not so much a question about that. It's more of like, well, when is it going to be? Or like, is it ever going to happen at all? But I think the Elon thing is definitely going to happen, man. These big surprises are always going to happen. I think, they've been talking about how Donald Glover got hired on as a creative consultant. I cannot wait for project number 2, man. I cannot wait to see what they're doing next. I cannot wait to see if it's going to be like a new merch, dope-ass merch. What if it's like super cool merch? Or what if it's like a huge festival? That's what people have been rumoring a little bit. I'm going to drop a little bit of knowledge that I got when I was on the ground in LA. I heard some rumors about this from some people, some artistic people, that there could possibly be more of like a festival or a huge concert for Andrew Yang. Something like, do you remember Jay-Z did a free concert for Obama back in 07. I'm saying the same thing happening for Yangster, baby. Like, how dope would that be if Andrew Yang had a festival? What do we call it? Like Yang Fest or Fire Fest. What about like Yang Times? I don't know. Some kind of name. Donald Glover. Think about it. Make it creative. Make it cool and catchy, right? But I'm saying we have like a huge event. Everyone comes out. Great artists that endorse Andrew. People that know Donald Glover. And we get a huge concert, benefit, fundraising event. We raise a ton of money for the campaign. That would be awesome. You could do like VIP tickets or backstage tickets for $2,800. Have people max out. Use that money. All this stuff is awesome. I think that's more surprising that we can see down the road, especially with great hires such as Donald Glover, or great hires or great endorsements such as Elon, or all these very influential people that can do these creative things that I don't think other campaigns are able to put together or able to plan ahead with, right? I don't picture the Warren campaign throwing a Donald Glover concert. I don't picture the Bernie campaign throwing a giant festival. I picture the Yang campaign doing all that shit, baby. Yeah, that's what, and also at the same time, like all these big events, all these big party like festivals and concerts and stuff like that, all they do is generate more attention from non-political media forms or areas or audiences, right? Like the more people hear, like, oh my gosh, did you hear that Andrew Yang guy? He's running for president, but also he threw this rager concert over, at Washington Square Park or whatever. He threw this rager festival with Donald Glover, and he crowd surfed maybe the entire crowd at the actual festival. He does stuff like that. That gets the attention of, that gets posted on Instagram, on meme pages. It gets posted all over the news. It gets posted on maybe like commentary channels, YouTube, individual news channels, Philip DeFranco. It gets posted on all these different sources. All of them have their own audiences, some big, some small, some like Philip DeFranco that have like 1 million people who consistently choose to watch that channel and trust what Philip DeFranco has to say and love what he has to say. That's why that idea of 5 million cable news viewers is much less valuable than 1 million YouTube channels viewers, right? Because those people choose to watch them, they choose to go out of the way, they choose to subscribe, and then the exact same thing is the case in reaching other voters. When we do crazy shit, when we throw festivals, people talk about it, and we reach those other audiences, and that's how you become Yanged. That's how you become Yang, because you naturally come across who Andrew Yang is from your favorite podcaster, your favorite YouTuber. You trust that person, and they talk about him. Adam22 is a perfect example, man. He's got like 3 million subscribers on YouTube. He's super famous. I've watched him for a while. All my friends know him, and he endorsed Andrew Yang. He goes to all the Andrew Yang events. He went to the Donald Glover event, man. He went to the big rally Kelly in LA. Those people talking about him is so powerful. It's something that none of these other candidates have on such a level. I think Casey Neistat is so powerful as well. Casey Neistat's a great example. That is something that the other establishment campaigns do not have. That's our strength. That's how we find the success, and that's why we have the energy, and we get labeled as the exciting campaign. We get labeled as the growth campaign. We get labeled as the campaign to watch because we're always doing crazy stuff because we know they lead to more attention, more energy, and we get to really rile up and really energize the people who are not politically involved, the people who aren't watching CNN or MSNBC, but when Andrew Yang comes across their screen and they look into him, they become hardcore Yang and they join us, baby. That's what it's all about. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Those. Oh, sorry. Let me take a water break. One sec. Yeah. I think surprises like that. And it's impossible to predict what the campaign does. The campaign is always so unpredictable and all their little surprises and all the little pushes and the runs that they do that there's no way in really knowing exactly what's to come. But I know that whatever it is going to help us. It is going to be really beneficial. It's going to be smart. It's going to be, I think, revolutionary, something that we've never seen before from any other campaign, especially this century. And that's what's going to make it so cool. That's what I'm excited for. So yes. Woo. Okay. I'm going to take one more break real quick. Okay, we're coming. We'll be right back from our sponsors. Our sponsor is AirPods. Nope, that's not true. We're sponsored by Frame It. If you got a Yang shirt, Frame It. Go to frameit.com and use the code SeatGeek. Yang Gang. Ow, sorry, I hit the mic.